and welcome back to Core 4 Adventures. We love to travel and we love food. So we've put together a set of travel tips for people like us who want to really experience the cuisine of the region that they're going to.
Before we get going on that, we want to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to our channel and make sure you turn on that notification bell because we release new content every single week. And if you find anything in this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. So here we go with tip number 1. Do your research of local cuisine before you head out on your trip.
You can do this either online through YouTube videos or websites, or you can use the guidebooks that they make available at any bookstore. But you definitely want to figure out what that regional cuisine is and figure out the things that you want to try before you get there.
One of the things that I like to do is watch some shows like Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations. There's a lot of great shows like Stanley Tucci's Finding Italy is a great show. We're getting ready to go to Italy, so I've been rewatching some of those to find out what are the local delicacies and better yet, where to go to try them.
So our second tip is to embrace the culinary tours and experiences that may be available in the place you're going.
Absolutely. Book one of those food tours. They have a lot of food tours available where you're walking around a city and you've got a guide that's taking you from place to place to sample those local delicacies.
Or stop by a farmer's market or even one of their marketplaces. Lots of cities have cool marketplaces where you can get food and see the local cuisine.
And one other tip is maybe take a cooking class. If you're out in a location and you're learning how to make the dish, then you can recreate it when you get back home as well.
That's really cool because that helps you bring your experience home and you have that for the rest of your life.
And you can share it with others as well. So next up is tip number 3, and that is to be open to trying new flavors and experiences when you're out traveling.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to try that dish that you've always been a little leery of, because when else should you try it than when you're where it's actually from?
So when we were in Paris, of course, we had to try escargot, and we're so pleasantly surprised that it's something that we actually really love. We never would have had that chance if we didn't, step outside of our comfort zone. So when you are out traveling, don't be afraid to try new bites.
Number 4 is to seek out recommendations from locals. Either before you go or while you're there, ask around, see where the locals eat, because that's where you're going to get a really authentic feel for the food and the culture.
I always like to ask the taxi driver or somebody at the hotel where they eat. Don't say, where should I go? Say, where do you like to eat? And then go visit those places.
Right. You want to know where the locals are eating, not where they're sending the tourists.
Exactly. When we went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, we asked our taxi driver that question on our way in that night because we wanted to try the best mofongo on the island. And he pointed out the restaurant, actually drove us right by. We went there that evening and it was some of the best food that we had that entire trip, don't you think?
I really think it was the best mofongo we had on that vacation, and we had it at several locations.
And it was all thanks to that taxi driver's tip. So tip number 5 is to sample the regional delicacies of the place that you're going to. If you're going to Hawaii, don't miss out on trying some famous things like, I love their shave ice.
Oh, and the macadamia nut encrusted fish. It's a staple in Hawaii. You need to have that.
And when we went to New Orleans, we had to try the crawfish boil and the beignets.
And of course, you can't go to Alaska without trying crab legs. Definitely try the delicacies in the area that you're at because it will really help you immerse yourself in the culture and the experiences that the locals have.
And you're never going to get a better sample of that and the freshest than in the area that they serve it the most.
Tip number 6 is to definitely take pictures of your food. You're going to want to remember what you had and talk about it when you get back, and it's really nice to have pretty pictures of what you had to go along with your stories.
And you could also take videos and post it on social media. Put it on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube even. I want to see what you had for dinner.
I do too, and that's the point. If you're putting it online, then I can look at it before I go to that location and see what's there.
And speaking of that, we did an entire summary of every specialty dining restaurant that we ate at on the NCL Encore, and we're going to link that right here for you. You can check it out. Next up is tip number 7, and that is to consider any dietary restrictions or food allergies when you're planning where you're going to dinner when you are out and about.
So I do have several food allergies that I have to take into consideration, and it's something that you should do your research on ahead of time. There are certainly areas of the world where things are much more common than others. So for example, I have a cinnamon allergy. I know there's whole areas of the world that I'm going to really struggle with, but there's other places that I don't have to worry much at all. For example, in Japan, they rarely use cinnamon in anything.
You know, speaking of that, when we went to Alaska, one of the things that I wanted to try was the Alaskan fry bread, which is just covered in cinnamon and sugar. So we just planned it so that Laura went across the street, wasn't nearby because even the scent bothers her. But we did our research, and then we got to go have beaver tails and found out that they don't put cinnamon and sugar on it. And so she was able to partake in that when we were in Victoria, British Columbia. And that was a delicious bite for sure.
That was absolutely delicious. And a great tip is to learn what your allergens are in the languages of the countries that you're going to. That way, you do have a way to communicate with the locals to make sure that it's not getting put in your food.
So for example, I'm not allergic to mustard, but I really hate it. And I know how to say pas de moutarde in France so that they don't serve it to me.
So that brings us to tip number 8. Stay hydrated and pace yourself.
That's absolutely true. Especially if you're doing like a food tour or a culinary experience, you're going to want to pace yourself. So what we do is we will often share the bite so that we're only eating half of what's being served to us so that we can try more things and not have such a big quantity in one item. And you get more variety that way.
Right. If you try the whole dish of every single thing, you're going to eat 3 things in the day pretty much. Yeah. But if you're a group of 2 or 4 and you split each dish, you could have 12 different bites throughout the day.
And stay hydrated. Make sure that you are drinking plenty of water to help with your digestion, because what you don't want as a foodie is to overindulge and then just not feel good the next day. Tip number 9 is don't miss out on exploring local food markets and local produce when you are out on vacation.
This is a way to really see the regional stuff. I cannot wait. We're about to go to Barcelona and they are known for their jamón. And I can't wait to go to the local food markets and have both jamón serrano and jamón ibérico and see the difference for myself.
And one of my favorite experiences when Pepper and I went to Bordeaux, France, was we went to the local food market in Bordeaux and we got to sample a bunch of different culinary delights. It was right next to Cité de Vin, and we just had an amazing afternoon. You can get lunch there, you can get stuff to take home and prepare in your home or in your Airbnb, and of course you can sample all of the local wine.
And a lot of those local delicacies are a lot less expensive at these food markets than they are at restaurants. So that's a great money-saving tip as well. And our final tip is to research the local dining customs before you get there. For example, in most countries other than the United States, it's actually considered rude to take a doggy bag home. They expect you to order the amount of food that you want to eat at that setting and eat it there.
Another thing that you need to know about foreign dining customs is a lot of places that you go to, they think it's rude to bring you the bill before you ask for it. So you may be sitting at a table in France and going like, why is the server not bringing me my check? I want to go. I'm finished with my meal. I've had my meal, dessert, and coffee, and they still haven't brought me my bill. That's because you have to ask for it.
That's because dining in a lot of European countries is an experience, and people expect you to sit there for several hours, and they feel like it's rude to bring you that check and try to get you to leave.
So knowing those things ahead of time is going to make your experience so much better. Well, that wraps up our list. We really hope that these tips help you if you are a food lover and planning your next vacation. And if you have any food lovers tips that we left out, make sure you drop it in the comments box below. We'd love to hear from you and we will respond.
So if you got anything out of this video, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like it. And once again, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We put out new content every week and we'd love for you to go along for the ride. Speaking of our other content, there's going to be a playlist below of all of our other travel tips. Check it out. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time on Core4 Adventures. Bye!